So as I mentioned, I traveled with Adam and Vicky to Uganda, and they sponsored a water and drip project in Kayango Orphanage, Kayango Village, but we know the orphanage. We have a very special relationship with the orphanage. And it was really such a pleasure to have them there, and it was a pleasure to experience them, and I look up to them, I really do, because they were able to rally their community for a cause that is so dear to my heart, but also so necessary, right? It's really a basic human right, giving people access to clean flowing water. And they really are just special people, and I'm happy to know them. I'm happy to call them a friend and a friend of Innovation Africa, so please, take the stage. It is all yours.
Can we go from here? Okay. Hi, everybody. Morag, thank you very much. That was really great. Thank you so much. And Jeffrey, thank you so much. This whole week is really, really special, and it's just an amazing thing that you put together. And thank you for everything you said. We're humbled by what you said. Thank you so much. So really, we're here to speak about our trip to Africa back in July to Uganda with Innovation Africa, and we raised money to dedicate a solar water pump and drip irrigation system for the village of Kayango. We're gonna talk about that. Now hold on. So a lot of you know us, but some of you don't. I'll give you a little background. I always think it's important. So we live here in the Avenue J area. We have 4 kids. We're proud members of Beth Torah, and we're also very close and associated with Barkai. Vicky's been a teacher in Barkai for 14 years. I've been on the board of Barkai for 6 years, and all our children attend the school. And we've also both been involved in community service in other ways, both with Sephardic Cholim and other things too. So I'll tell you really how we got involved with Innovation Africa. Back in 2016, I wrote down, for myself, that by the end of the year, I want to be more involved in, I called it a global cause. That's what I said, and I said also I'd like to have my family involved too. That's what I wrote down for myself, and I looked at that periodically, and then I was wondering, okay, am I really going to get around to this? Then I would say late in the year, someone that I do some business with sent me information about Innovation Africa, sent me a video. And I watched it, and I saw, I was really moved by it. I saw the connection to Israel and really the amazing work that they were doing, and I told him that, I decided this was it. And I asked him if he could connect me with the organization, and he connected me with Sivan Yari, the founder and CEO of Innovation Africa, and we set up a call and we spoke on the phone. And I asked her, I said, do you have any affiliation with the Syrian community in Brooklyn? And she said, not really. There's one person in Israel that's connected with the community that gives them some support. She said, but not really. She really didn't know what the Syrian community was, and I thought, this could be what I can offer. I can bring this organization to the community and maybe help raise some funds for it. And that's that's how it started. And then after talking with her for a little bit, I said, this would be a great thing to maybe if she could come present in Beth Torah. And I emailed Jeffrey and some of the other committee members, and we set it up for her to come. And that was really sort of how things got started with the idea of us going to Uganda.
So she came, and
I say that we didn't hesitate.
You really didn't. You came right back and said, let's do it.
So Sivan came to Beth Torah. It was amazing, and the moment I met her, I said, we're going. That's it. And when he told me the idea, I thought it was amazing, but still sort of abstract. in the moment. And then when she came, she made it much more real for us. She's an unbelievable person, just like Morag that you met just now. All amazing people, very inspiring. And when the shul also jumped at the chance to be a part of raising money towards this orphanage and towards a village that would need it. So together we said, you know what, that's the project we're going to do. And when Sivan told us that they were planning a trip in July and we would be able to do this, we jumped at the chance. Somehow all the pieces fit together and we were able to go. My in-laws, my parents, everybody helped out, babysat, and we got a couple of shots, took some pills, packed 1,000 energy bars in a suitcase, and we went.
Mm-hmm. So from the night that Sivan came, we decided to do the project, and it happened to be that there was a project that would be ready on time. So I think she came in March. We had April, May, and June to raise funds. So we raised about $50,000, and they were building the project over April, May, and June. And we were getting pictures of the project going up. So we were very fortunate that the timing would work out. And really, I could say that if it were up to me, we probably wouldn't have gone. After I was thinking, we'll raise the money and then they'll turn on the thing and we'll get a video. And after Sivan came here, Vicky said, we're going. And then a month later, I tried to back out and I said, I don't know, I can't. And she said, no, we're going. We're going. You committed to it, we're going. And really, it's all because of her. If it was really up to me, I don't know if it would have ended up going. But there we were, July, we left, we flew to Uganda, you land in Entebbe, and it's something that Innovation Africa does. It's called iJourney. Twice a year, they do a trip with donors, and they take them to their projects and to other projects, to see other projects. So we landed in Entebbe, we met the Innovation Africa team in Uganda, and also the other people that were going to be on the trip. It was about 10 people, about 7 people from the United States. I think probably 5 or 6 were Jewish, some non-Jewish, and then a few Israelis, 3 Israelis. And then the Innovation Africa team was about 10 people also. And that's who we were together with throughout our trip. So the next morning we woke up and the first stop on the trip was Kayango village to go turn on the water. So that's the next slide. So what I can tell you is this is our first morning in Uganda. We arrived at night and we're on the road.
We had no idea really what to expect at this point.
Nothing, we didn't know. And we're really just looking out the window and, taking in the country. And all of a sudden we see on the side of the road, there's signs for the villages. We see Kayango village and we turn and, I started videoing. So this is what we saw. There's sounds coming all of a sudden. So, and now we get out of the car and we're about 6 cars, the whole group, and we get out of the car and there's tons of people and it was wild, you almost felt like a celebrity, and there's people all around us coming up to us, hugging us, dancing with us, and this really big man comes over to me. He's dressed in a big turquoise outfit, and he says, I'm Joshua. I'm the chairman of this village. And I said, I'm Adam. He says, and he stops. He says, Adam. And if you go to the next video, you'll see what he did if you play it.
Sorry.
Go back. This is a video. You
You
lifted me in the air. Started carrying me around. So he lifted me in the air, and what he said to me when he had me in the air, he said, "You have no idea what you've done for us." And that's really when it hit me. I was like, wow, like this is something. I mean, there were people surrounding us, and he said that to me, and I'm like, okay, this is really a special moment. Like, and we kind of, I started to really like kind of engage with it. I didn't know what it was going to be. I think I was a little nervous or curious, and all of a sudden I was like, okay, we're here. This is amazing. If you move to the next slide. So this is the solar water pump that we dedicated. Now you'll see later on the side of this is a plaque that says dedicated by Beth Torah in honor of the people of, dedicated by Congregation Beth Torah of Brooklyn, New York, in honor of the people of Kayango Village. When the project really started from Beth Torah, and there were many, many contributors around the community, but I wanted to put something from Beth Torah, and later in the slides I'll show you the plaque. So on this water pump in the village is a plaque from Beth Torah. So go to the next one. So here's what happened. The village, everybody kind of gathers around, and they made speeches. So first, lots of singing and dancing, like Marag said. They really welcome you, and I mean, we couldn't believe it. And their dancing is unbelievable. They're all shaking their hips, and you're dancing with them like, it's wild. And then everybody gathered around one of the main water taps, and the chairman made a speech, and then someone else made a speech. I made a short speech, and then we were getting ready to turn on the water. So this is a video of the second before we turned on the water. I think you can skip the next video.
Well, right after that, they all came, I picked up the thing of water, and then they all came over to the water. And similar to the video that Morag showed before, that was exactly what happened here, where all of the children came under the water and started putting the water on their face and drinking out of the water. And it was definitely one of the most overwhelming moments, in my life, let alone in that trip. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot.
So that we spent the day there, and they gave us gifts. The children performed songs. It was our daughter Marcy's birthday, back here, and somehow they knew that, and the kids sang this song. They sang Marcy like a Ugandan type of happy birthday, and we videoed it and sent it to her. I mean, the day was amazing. It was like, I'm sure it was the most moving experience. Like, it was really something incredible. And that was the first day. The people were so grateful and just, so joyous, like Marag said. And then we spent the other days that Vicky will tell you about. We went to lots of other projects and saw some of the other things with some of the other donors and the other things that Innovation Africa was doing.
Let's see what the next picture is. Oh, this is the sign.
This is the plaque. It's not so clear, but this is the dedication for Beth Torah. And look, to me, it's just beautiful that in a rural village in Uganda, people every day are thousands of people are being sourced clean water. And when someone comes to see, it says Congregation Beth Torah of Brooklyn, New York. Beth Torah of Brooklyn, New York. So, to me, it's amazing.
This was at the orphanage. We brought, maybe a week before or 2 weeks before we left, it was sinking in that we were actually going to Africa, and we realized we should bring some other stuff with us. So we tried to just go to all the discount stores I could find at the last minute and bring a suitcase full of pencils and crayons and notebooks and anything that the children could use at the orphanage. And while we were there, We gave candy, it was a big hit. While we were there, we gave out some of it, and later on they gave it out to the rest of the children in the orphanage, and they gave us this picture to show us that they were using the things that we had sent them. Anytime we took something out to show them what we had brought, it was like cheering and celebration and another song and more dancing because they were getting more things. It was really amazing. Let's see the next. This is again a picture of the children at the orphanage. And here's, so going forward from that day, needless to say, at the end of that day, Adam and I were just almost speechless at that point. We didn't really know what to do with all of that. And it was only the beginning. And from that day forward, every day we slept in the hotel, got up with the team, had our breakfast, and got in the cars and went around to different villages, whether they were prospective projects that Innovation Africa was looking into to possibly help and see what was going on. Some of them were places where they were checking in after a year or so of having been helped and having been given the water. And we saw schools, we saw medical centers, orphanages, and people's homes in the villages. And one of the amazing things was seeing the progression, to see places where you went, and just like the pictures you're seeing in these, in the website and in brochures, we saw that in real life, where they're literally drinking out of the floor, a well in the floor, and the dirty water where the animals are drinking from. And not only that, but they're spending all day looking to find these dirty sources of water to survive. And at the same time, it's the thing that's also harming them. You see places like that, and then you go to a place where they've had clean water because of Innovation Africa for a year or so, and the difference is remarkable. The people are different. There's a different liveliness in their eyes. There is so much gratitude. They tell you about the difference in their lives. They tell you, before we had no energy, we couldn't go with our children, we couldn't take them to school. The children couldn't go to school because they had to spend all day looking for the water. The women, something that really stood out for me was a lot of things are just universal. Things that we see here are also things that we see there. So one of those is the love of a mother. There's no difference between how much I love my child and how much someone in Africa loves their child that lives in a village with no clean water. And there's no reason that she shouldn't have the same opportunity to feed and nourish her children as we have here. And you see that that's really what they care about. Also, the women described how when they didn't have the water, they had no way of making money. And now that they had the clean water, they didn't have to go. One of the women actually said, we didn't have to ask our husbands what to do anymore. We didn't have to ask our husbands for money, So it wasn't only an American thing. And they said that the moment they had all the clean water, they were able to create their own businesses. They were growing things, they were cooking, they were selling things. This was another great moment. This was some of the teachers that I met in one of the schools. And I really automatically felt a connection to these teachers. I felt like I was able to empathize with what they were going through, even though I obviously can't really understand what they're going through. But one of them even who told me, who was able to speak English, who told me that she travels far. They have these little motorbikes that they travel on, and she travels far to get to the schools. She barely gets paid. She has to pay for daycare for her children while she goes to teach, but she can't not do it because it's just so needed. She feels that she has to do it, and she loves it, and she has such a passion for it, and the children are so amazing, and they need her so much. And it was so many of the things that, even though it's so different and so far away, it's so many things that we can also relate to here. This was the most amazing day, besides Kayango. This was a school where we went with the donor that had previously given them solar and water. And on this visit to the school, they also had extra money from the donations, and they brought chairs to the classrooms. They brought a whole truckload of chairs for the children, because before that the students were sitting on the floor, and they were standing. And they come off the truck, and everyone, just like you saw, was singing for us. They're singing and dancing for the chairs, and all the students start taking chairs and bringing them into their classroom. And I'm just staring at these children who have this look like they've been given $1 million because they now have a chair in school. And it made me feel, when coming back, that whatever resources I have here as a teacher, I better make good use of it, because I'm given it, and I better not blow the things that I have, because how much worse would that make it for people who don't have it all across the world? These are some of the students. Some of them were able to, they all learn English, but there are different levels of how much they can understand and speak. This is them, how they get their water, walking with those. This is another source so these are pictures from us. So even though they look the same as the other pictures, we're standing there and we're seeing this. This was one of the days we went to where there was drip irrigation that Innovation Africa had put in, and we helped them plant and put the seeds in. We actually got pictures recently of the crops that are growing. There's Adam.
So this was another place that we went in. In Uganda, there are about 1,000 Jews. There used to be more. About 80 years ago, someone, based on reading the Bible, decided to convert. Ugandan decided to convert, and a community formed around him. And then I think he was visited by a Jew from Europe or something like that, and taught them a little bit of Torah, and Judaism grew. There were about 3,000 Jews, and then they suffered a lot of persecution under Idi Amin, and a lot of them either left or were killed. And but now there's 1,000 left, and there's about 150 that are Orthodox, and they follow Sephardic Halakha. It's amazing, and so we went to visit.
We went there. It was really amazing. This
is called the Puti village, is where they live, and they love to play music. We sang songs with them. These are the guys. I mean, this one in the white shirt still emails me, and it was really.
What was going on when you came?
Oh, so it was really an amazing thing. We were talking to them and asking them, how do you learn? And they said, we were just learning with Rabbi Riskin from Israel. We were learning on Skype right before we got there. I mean, so, they don't have, one thing to know is people, they don't have electricity or water. I mean, Innovation Africa has installed, electricity and water here, but I'm saying in many of these villages, they don't have that, but a lot of people have cell phones, which is really, just changing the entire thing. I mean, so many of these people asked us if we were on Facebook, right? They want to connect with you.
One of the women is my friends on Facebook.
But I'll just tell you, to give you an idea of sort of...
Yeah.
Right. To give you an idea, I mean, when I knew we were going here, and so I emailed the rabbi in advance. I got his contact somehow, and I emailed the rabbi of this community, and I said, we're going to be visiting you from New York. What do you want us to bring you? What do you need? And he said, we really need Havdalah candles. And you're like, that's what they need. I mean, and then when you get there, you understand, where are they getting candles? I mean, so we brought them a nice Havdalah set, and we prayed with them and presented it to them, and they were, so excited. And there was a man from that represents he's part of government in a municipality in Israel, that his sort of group of villages was adopting this that guy right there. They were adopting the Puti community. They're saying, these are our Jewish brothers, and so Israel was sending people not only to, give them food and clothing, but to teach them business, to teach them Torah. So, that's an ongoing project. So it was really special meeting them. Next, so I think for us, we each like to just to kind of share one or two lessons and observations that we got from this trip. Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, one I'll say is that, a lot of us, we're experienced or seen or witnessed or had contact with some kind of poverty, but, this level of extreme poverty, this sort of, lack of the fundamentals is something you can't even imagine it. You cannot fathom it and really, and get it until you go see it. And that's why the first time I spoke with Sivan, she said, you're not going to really understand what we do unless you come and see it. And and that's the truth. It's something incredible when you go to these villages and they have just what they have. They have a bowl, and they have they're living in a hut, and they have a few pieces of clothing, and everything that you have, that you would give them, even though if your back would be really probably the most valuable thing that they had, and they would treasure it. If you had a Cliff Bar on you, because this happened, we had 100 Cliff Bars with us, and if I gave one out, people were chasing them. I mean, that's just, and it's a weird feeling, but it's amazing. I mean, the other thing is the people were just, beautiful. I mean, so nice, respectful, humble, joyous, grateful, special people. I mean, there's a innocence about them that you don't get with people here. I mean, they come up to you, they hold your hand, it's, all of a sudden they're holding your hand. Who does that? And it's so for me, it was really the connection to humanity and the connecting to people in that way. It's something I never experienced anything like that, and it really, I tell you, it changed my life very much.
Ditto. And I will say also, the first thing that came to my mind when we first pulled up that first day was probably the thing that always sticks with me now, which is these are just people. That was literally the first thought that came into my mind. I said, what is happening here? These are just people. What's the difference? It's just different place in the world that they're born, different time maybe, different, that's it. But there's really no difference at the end of the day between one person and the next, other than the circumstance of where they're living. And that was something that stuck very strong with me. And coming back and bringing everything that we experienced there has been a very interesting experience, somewhat challenging, and you want to get as much out of it as you can and bring it back into your life as you can. One thing I will say is a lot of gratitude I feel now, a newfound sense of gratitude, that even though I may have always felt that I was a grateful person, it's on another level now. I think that now I take nothing for granted, and I appreciate any moment that I have with my children, just the water that we drink, the turning it on, giving your kids a bath and it's not even a thought, but even beyond the water, it's just anything, and it just feels like it feels like I have a different feeling as a human being in the world after having experienced this, that I have a responsibility to other human beings in the world. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot more, but I won't say it.
Questions? Yeah, you want any questions? I like questions.
Yeah, Vicky, who's your father?
And yes, you are my father. And where do you think it all came from that I even am this person that I am?
What do you do for food and sleep and all that? How do you manage?
So, I mean, food is, so we stayed in hotels. The way, we each day, we would drive out to the villages. So we stayed in, hotels, pretty basic hotels. Food is tricky. I mean, you have to be careful what you eat, I would say pretty much everybody on the trip experiences some stomach issues during, even if you're careful. Some people really get sick. I got a little sick, well, you know.
But nothing major.
Nothing major.
Okay.
You know, you got to be careful. But yeah, we brought a lot of energy bars. We brought a lot of pita bread. We brought a lot of tuna. We brought a lot of peanut butter. And you know, we made do.
And the hotel was really a regular hotel. It was
Right.
running water and electricity,
Meaning,
all that. Yeah. Yeah.
Question over there, Chuck.
Jackie, you have a question?
Yes.
Who's this? David Shaw.
I have two quick ones. One is, now that you have the water systems set up, how do you ensure that the water doesn't get contaminated for any way? I mean, it's sitting in the cistern for a while, is there any way this bacteria
That's a good
growing?
one.
How do you ensure it's safe
It's an alright question.
for them? And then also, how do you get this on a larger scale? Like, is Bill Gates aware of this Israeli technology? How do you get major funding to take this from 150 villages to 1,000 to explode it into the entire country?
To your first question, because everything is being pumped directly from underground, goes straight to the tank and then straight to the taps, there really is no opportunity for contamination. So the actual construction of the project is made up so that that isn't an issue ever again. And then to your second question, I guess it's exposure. You know, we're still a small organization. We recently did 4 projects in Cameroon. We just completed them. Sivan actually just arrived back in Israel from Cameroon. And you know, UNICEF partnered with us, and that's huge for us because anytime we can connect ourselves to a name that is larger than just Innovation Africa, we're increasing the number of people who know us and the amount of money that's coming in so that we can do more projects. In the same way, there was a Jewish community in South Africa who heard about us, brought Siman to South Africa, and now we're hoping to expand our programming in South Africa. So it's really, a lot of times it's word of mouth. Of course, we're doing grants and all of that sort of stuff, but the more that people know who we are and know how great our work is and have, you know, personal experience with that, then hopefully we'll be able to maximize the number of people we can impact.
Is there a way to teach young people how to build solar panels? And think, like, in other words, is it always based on Israeli technology, or is there a way to have them be able to make their own solar panels, so it doesn't necessarily have to always come from an outside source?
Yes. So the first few projects that we had, a lot of things were coming directly from Israel. Then we started to look at how we can pour back into the economy. So where we can buy equipment in the given country, we do so. So the solar panels, for example, we don't bring over, we buy them locally. Also, the actual construction of the projects, the towers, you know, connecting the wires and all of that is done by locals. So we have local contractors on the ground who are doing all of that. We have Israeli engineers who come in and support where needed. We provide extra training. But really, we try to have them be as self-sustainable as possible. But they still need the money to be able to do that. And that's where really we come into play. Yes.
I have 2 quick ones. Is the water unlimited? Do they have to conserve it, or they could just use it?
It's not unlimited, but we haven't run out yet, and that's not something we're worried about. It's always refilling. What we're trying to manage now, and this is what we're going to tag onto our technology, is making sure that the rate in which we are taking the water out is matching the rate that it's coming back in. And we have certain indicators that show us that that's what's happening, but we really are trying to have that be for sure. You know, we really want to make sure that we're not destroying any equilibrium or anything.
And what do the men typically do? You spoke a lot about the women and their...
I asked that question all the
What do the men do? Like, do they go to the main city and work, or are they?
Yeah.
Some of them do. I mean, you know, the men that were driving us, the drivers, and you know, there were some men that go out and work. Some of them, I think, like work the fields certain times of the year. But I definitely think that, I mean, from what I saw, the women were really what's the word?
The leaders.
Yeah, I mean, they were really the strength of the family.
I saw videos that support that.
Yeah, they're really, you know, the strength. Yeah. Yeah.
You said they have farms and they're buying and selling some fruits and vegetables. How how much of an economy is it? Anybody have any idea? But I made that as commercial because in China we used to give goods. We used to make embroidered goods, and they'd have little hoops and this embroidered stuff, and it was very basic. And they have light around, so people can embroider stuff during the day and night. And during the seasons when they're growing, they sit waiting for things to happen. So you can create cash in the economy very quickly. So I'm very familiar with China because I was there and I saw it work. And I think if something like that can be done, all of a sudden you have a very big cash income. Because what you're telling me, what I hear, there's very little cash in the country. So now if you can export all these items made that way, you can have very big income coming. It could be, if there's 1 million people and you can reach 50,000, already there's a lot of money coming in.
I think one of the things, Innovate Sivan, who started the organization, she started working in Africa because she worked for DoorDash. She worked for DoorDash doing quality control in Africa, and then she saw how people were living. I mean, I think first you need a lot more infrastructure, or a little more infrastructure, like water. I mean, like water and electricity. But yeah. I think from my view, and now learning more, I think in 10 years it'll be very, very different. I mean, I really do. I think there'll be a lot more there.
This will help moving very quickly.
Yeah.
Because that's just pure labor that you're doing.
Yeah.
We deliver the materials, we deliver the ingredients, we do everything, and all they have to do is put it together. It's like the Lego sets. Or a little more sophisticated.
Yep.
You get a lot of action that way.
Yeah, Christian. Go ahead.
You get one.
No, I don't have a question. I just wanted to let you know, the beauty of the solar is that they don't have to make an electric grid throughout the country. You can put solar in any city, so you can skip a huge step in development. And cell phones also do that. You don't have to wire a whole country.
Right.
And there's a lot of sun.
A big way that they can accelerate their development.
Yeah.
And that's precisely why we go into the most rural of areas, because they don't have a grid set up at all.
Save them a lot of money.
How does the government in these areas feel? Are they incredibly supportive? Is it a barrier at all, or they're just supportive?
They are very supportive. We work with the local government as much as possible, so anytime we come in, we have to meet them first, let them know who we are, what our intentions are, and then we work with them hand in hand. In certain countries, we have connections higher up. So in Uganda, we know the Prime Minister. I don't think we met him when you guys were there this time, but we work closely with the Prime Minister. He's very aware of what we represent as an organization. And we recently met a president in one of the countries that we're in as well. So they're very supportive of us, of course, because we're providing a resource that they can't provide. So we're welcome.
Talking about doing a village.
Oh, that's good. Question?
Yeah, how far out are the villages from each other? Like, can the neighboring villages come in and use their water? Do they stop them from coming in? Like, how does that work? Or, like, instead of walking to get dirty water, is it the same distance to get to the clean water?
Yeah, we found that in certain communities where you have neighboring villages coming in, they're very welcoming because they know what life was like before they had access to clean water. So, they let them use it. But usually what happens from there is that our managers will find out that that's happening, and then we'll look into whether their village is actually a viable prospective project for us.
My experience, when you say villages, we drove across the country. Afterwards we went other places. It's all village. It's all like this. There's some cities, and when you say city, they're much, like a different really kind of city. But very, very basic. But it's villages everywhere. That's, like what you saw is that's like, so we went so many places. that's really what it's like.
How do you decide who gets to come in and use it, and is there any danger of them trying to take over?
No, we haven't had that. And that's because we work with, our managers are from the communities that we work in, right? And we have a very intricate sensitization process before we actually bring in our work. So we really try to make sure everyone understands what it's for, who's responsible for what, and all the rest. But it is difficult to say no and yes And we have to have a criteria ourselves within the organization to really determine who needs it most.
We have time for one more?
One more. My brother? Okay. Go ahead.
First, let me start by saying that I'm a proud baby brother. I think an important question, you've traveled far, you got shots, you took pills, you did the work, you've come so far, you've done tremendous work. I think for Adam and Vicky is, what do you guys want from here? For us, what do you want? Is there an action? Is there something, a next step? There's a lot happening. So what would you like from us from here?
I have a great answer, and I was going to say this to close anyway, okay? And this is really, and it's not about what I want, but it's an idea. Really, I'll tell you, it's amazing how things come full circle. One of the things that inspired me to want to do something like this was last year, Rabbi Sachs came to my friend Joey Shamma's house and spoke to us as a group, and he said amazing things. One of the things he said was, there's never been a time like this to be a Jew. We're safe around the world, really. We have a strong state of Israel. It's an incredible opportunity. You need to go out into the world and be proud, positive Jews. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to apologize. Take the values that we know so well and take them out into the world. So now I went ahead and really thought about that. It definitely influenced my decision to get involved in this. And now, because the trip we did, Jeffrey says that, that inspired, this symposium, and Rabbi Sachs, happens to be, kicking it off a year later. So I think, that if you want to do something, it could be local, it could be beyond local, it could be far. I think the message is that, we have an incredible base here, an incredible foundation, an incredible, set of values that we've been imbued with. Take it out wherever you want to take it. They're really, there's really not much in the way. It wasn't that hard to go to do what we did. So, I think that opportunity is very, very real. That's what I would say is the message.
And I will say, I'll add to that, even on a smaller scale, just day to day. And I guess it's the teacher in me, that's something that I try to tell my students, is just not to discriminate our kindness. There's no reason why we shouldn't be noticing things that are going around, all around us, rather than just right down here where we are. And that's something that I think I grew up with that message from my parents. You see someone in need, obviously help them. And just to keep perpetuating that for the next generations, and that should be for anyone in need. And that's really how I felt coming out of this.